A mother prays to God to give birth to a boy, but as soon as she leaves the church, she gets a response. She witnessed her mother's death with her own eyes. The little girl's heart is as still as a paper boat, because she has already sealed herself in the imaginary world. In her eyes, even the clouds have become the appearance of a toy bear. But in the blink of an eye, two cars collided unexpectedly. "Little girl, what are you doing?" The neighbor next door teased the girl, accusing her of taking random pictures, which led to the car accident. Coincidentally, Emily watched today's news, and 3 major accidents really happened. Plus the car accident in the daytime, it just corresponds with the 4 photos she took. This made Emily very panic. Only a few days later, she finally realized that she was being played. In order to take revenge on the other party's prank, she climbed onto the roof of her house with a radio. When the neighbor is watching his favorite football game, as soon as he hears the signal of the door opening, he will. "What are you doing?" No one saw the exciting moment. For a football fan, it was a painful torture. The neighbor was so angry that he jumped from the top of the mountain. The original happy weekend was hard. But for a smart child like Emily, childhood was extremely sad. Her father is a lonely military doctor, and he doesn't express his love to his daughter at all. And her mother is a furious teacher. If she does anything wrong, she will be severely scolded. The double pressure of her parents made the family atmosphere become extremely depressed. Depressed to her only partner. She can't stand the choice to jump off the cliff and commit suicide. Emily was scared and screamed. This made her mother's spirit collapse in the end. Her father used 1,000 gold bars to save her life. But she still doesn't want to give up. Her mother had no choice but to let her kneel naturally. By the way, I also released the fish tank. Since then, Emily has no friends. After her mother's accident, her father, who was originally lonely, became more closed. The girl also lost the opportunity to communicate with her peers. Loneliness accompanied her throughout her childhood, until she was 18 years old. Emily ran away from this dull home and became a maid in a coffee shop. But due to the trauma of childhood and the influence of her father, in addition to work, she won't take the initiative to disturb other people's lives. And her only best friend is also an empty sister. They have to be separated for a long time before they have a chance to meet. So Emily is always alone. She has many strange hobbies. For example, she likes to stick her hand into the fog, go to the riverside and hit 3 or 4 water drifts in a row. And every time she sees the climax of the movie, she looks back to observe people's reactions. Emily often finds details that others don't notice. She also likes to use binoculars to spy on her neighbors. But she is not a perverted peeper. Instead, she is very kind. Every time she goes home to visit her father, she will take the initiative to give up the homeless man on the platform. "Ah, no, thank you, my little lady. I never work on Sundays. I thought I could only live alone in my life." But I didn't expect a small slip of the hand to make her carry a sacred mission. The glass ball accidentally broke the iron brick. And behind the wall, there was a little world. I don't know which little boy buried the treasure. Now it's in Emily's hands. The owner of the iron box seems to be the same age as her father. Emily really wants to know what it feels like to lose your childhood and get it back. She can't get the answer. So she decided to return the treasure. But even if she visited all the neighbors, she didn't find any clues. Fortunately, an old man gave a reminder that the person she was looking for was Bodo, not Bodo. This old man never goes out to make friends, but he invited this strange girl into the house. Emily found that the furniture here was wrapped in soft cloth. It turns out that the old man has a rare disease. The bones of his whole body are as brittle as crystal. People call him Mr. Glass. He can only spend time painting. But for 20 years, he has only painted one work. He always felt that the girl holding the water cup was inseparable from the others. She may be so different from the others. Ah. When she was little, she didn't have to play often with the other children. Maybe never. The old man's words seemed to be monitoring Emily's life. Because at that time, she was also holding a water cup. After getting the address of Bodo in the old man's house, Emily started her action. Bodo went home as usual, but the public phone next to her was strangely ringing. She went in to answer the phone in a confused face, but the phone was hung up immediately. Suddenly, she noticed something on the table. That's the treasure she hid when she was a kid. Emily, like an angel, sent the lost childhood back to Bodo. The man's eyes were instantly wet. Countless memories floated into his mind. His favorite bicycle toy. His neighbor who likes to peek at beautiful things. He won a lot of things, but he lost all of them. Bodo thought it must be the miracle of the angel. Maybe the angel was standing next to him. I have a daughter. She must be about your age. We haven't talked for years. I think it's time for me to pay her a visit. Bring happiness to others. Let Emily find the meaning of her existence. She decided to be a chivalrous guest and bring happiness to everyone around her. She took the initiative to help the blind man cross the road and explain to him everything that happened around him. On the one hand is the band's doctor. Her husband has been wearing her clothes since he died. There is a missing ear at the pier of the meat shop. The laughter in the ear comes from the flower shop owner. There are a lot of candies in the window of the bakery. The smell is of honeydew and ice cream. Today's ham and pork are a little cheaper. There is a phone booth next to the street. And straight ahead is the subway station that the man wants to go. Then Emily quietly left. Only the old man left alone to reminisce about everything. Emily helped others to live a happy life. But when she left the store, she accidentally found the key to the boss's tail downstairs. She wanted to send it to him kindly. Coincidentally, she saw the shopkeeper bullying the man. You have to take Lucien as an example. But when he works, he may not be flashed by the radar. Isn't that true? You shouldn't, Mr. Collignon. It's not his fault. The boss's despicable behavior reminded her of the time when she deliberately played with her neighbor. So Emily decided to help the shopkeeper vent her anger. She reassembled the key. She put the original one back on the other person's door. A few days later, while the other person was not at home, she sneaked into the room and carried out her own secret plan. The next day at 4 a.m., the alarm clock rang on time. The boss got up to wash his face. But he ate a mouthful of soft cream. He wore 2 different leather shoes to go out. However, there was no one in the busy street. Everything happened too strangely. The boss began to doubt whether he was possessed. But such a lesson did not have much effect on him. Emily would often bump into the boss and bully the shopkeeper. Do you know how long it took you to get this cajon? Have you seen the time? So this one has not been finished with the pea. Emily thought the last prank was too simple. She decided to give him another portion. When the boss came home, he found that his shoes were inexplicably getting smaller. He couldn't even put on the strength to eat milk. When the light was turned on, it would explode. He wanted to have a drink, but he became jealous of the water. The boss once doubted that he had been punished. He called his mother for help. Psychiatric emergency, I'm listening. Emily successfully made him believe in the ghost god. The boss was afraid and dared not do bad things again. Emily seemed to really turn into an angel, helping people around her to solve all kinds of troubles. The waitress of the coffee shop was harassed by her ex-boyfriend every day. She couldn't stand being alone, so she pretended to be sick all day to attract others' attention. So Emily made a mess of the cajon and put the two together. The landlord's wife was immersed in the betrayal of her husband, and there was no trace of her. She secretly stole the man's letter and made up a letter of apology for many years. Emily didn't forget to make up the letter and let the postman send it back to the landlord. Because the news found a 30-year-old fire truck, which made the landlord believe in the letter. Seeing that the old painter downstairs had never stepped out of the door, he put the world outside in a tape and secretly put it under the carpet at the door. After Song Kai found it, he just handed it to the old painter. Looking at the novel world he had never seen, he had a smile on his face. The old painter knew that the girl upstairs must have done everything. Like Emily, he liked to use binoculars to observe the wind and grass outside the window. The girl was shining her letter at home and the whole boss's secret actions were seen by the old painter. Emily successfully helped the strangers around and also got a strong sense of happiness. But he suddenly remembered that his father actually had a wish of his own. At first, he wanted to take his family on a global trip. But his mother's sudden death made his father completely shut himself up. He put all his energy on that little lover and stayed at home for decades. Now he has no courage to go on a trip. So Emily had to take advantage of the night to steal the current lover. After a while, his father really became cheerful. He shared a magical thing with his daughter. The lover actually went to Moscow and sent back the photo. No explanation. Maybe you just want to see the country. I don't understand. I don't understand. Of course, such a strange thing can't be true. But he never thought that it was Emily who asked him to be his best friend. Every time he went to a place, he sent back the photo to the lover. Seeing that people around him were getting happier, Emily lost her sense of happiness and her emotions began to decline. However, not long after, a strange boy aroused his strong curiosity. The boy saw him and suddenly got up and ran. But his goal was not himself, but a light far away. Even if the other person drove away, he still didn't want to give up. But the unexpected tumult left his bag in place. Emily, who was watching everything behind, was very confused about this. She found a thick photo album in the bag. It was full of damaged photos of strangers. The boy's name was Nino. It turned out that he was lying on the ground just to collect the photos that people threw away. But there was one thing that made her confused. Every page of the photo album had that chasing bald guy. What was more confusing was that more than one station would show his photo. Emily thought that no one would run around taking selfies all the way and finally abandoned the photo. The painter thought that he was afraid of getting old and wanted to leave his face in more places. And this moment opened Emily's mind. It's a dead man. A dead man? Yes, a dead man who is afraid of falling into oblivion. So he uses photos to remind his face alive. It's a bit like faxing his image from above. Emily went back and kept studying this photo album. She looked at the photos that she had collected one by one. She thought that Nino and herself were completely the same kind of person. Nino and Emily were both secretly helping others to leave more beauty. She longed to meet him again. But she didn't expect that the boy filled his contact information in the station. Emily was very confused. She obviously fell in love with him and didn't want to return him so easily. So Emily found the amusement park where he worked and left a clue on his bike. The next day, Nino came to the park on time to meet him. Emily was still hiding behind the public phone to guide him to find her. Nino still followed the arrow on the ground and kept going up. Unexpectedly, the arrow disappeared in front of the statue. Nino couldn't figure out what he meant. Sir, when the finger points to the sky, the imbecile looks at the finger. He looked up and found a telescope in the direction of his finger. At this time, the girl put the photo album on his bike. But Emily was too strict. She still didn't know who he was. Nino finally got the photo album back. She also found the girl's funny photos in it. This completely aroused Nino's interest and even made him excited. So he filled the whole station with the mystery night again. Of course, Emily found Nino looking for her. But she didn't want to see him just like that. She dressed up as Zorro and left a new clue in the way she liked the most. But she was surprised when she went out. She stood in front of him and finally solved this secret. At the same time, a bold plan emerged. The next day, Nino collected the broken photos and put them in a cafe. Unexpectedly, he found the clue Emily left. He put the broken pieces together and got the address of the girls' cafe. They were all in the cafe at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But Nino didn't make an appointment on time.